Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you've been following me along for a while, you will be expecting my Europe vlog, but if you're new here, this video is not only to show you guys my trip to Europe recently, but also to tell you how I travel, what I do, what it was like traveling in 2021, and all of my best tips, tricks, and hacks. In October of 2021, my fiance Alex and I went to Paris, Krakow, Poland, and Budapest, Hungary, and we had an absolutely amazing time. We were supposed to do this trip back in May of 2020, and obviously that didn't happen, so it was really exciting to be able to go now. I've been to Europe quite a few times before, but I'd never been to Poland or Hungary before, so these were both new for me, and I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on like ways to travel that make it really budget friendly and make it really easy and seamless, and so I thought I would kind of incorporate my travel vlog into also showing you that today. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Good morning from Portugal. It is 6:15 in the morning here, which means it's like essentially like 1 a.m. back home or midnight or something. Not paying attention to back home time anymore. I am now in Europe time and I have to focus on that, otherwise my jet lag will come and bite me in the butt. But our flight was 7 hours and 15 minutes and I slept pretty dang good for all of it. So I'm gonna try and just like power through and stay awake until we go to bed tonight. It's gonna be tough. There's gonna need to be a lot of caffeine. I will need a glass of wine this evening, but we're gonna make it work. Excited for the next leg. From here we go to Brussels. And then once we get to Brussels, then we have to find a train to take us to Paris. So we have a long, lengthy day ahead of us, but we'll be fine. So we flew TAP Airlines out of Chicago. We got round trip flights for $250. And we went Chicago to Lisbon and Lisbon to Brussels. The paperwork for getting through was no joke. I'll put in the description box the link we did to be able to get our COVID vaccine QR codes. You can also do this if you are doing a PCR test to be able to travel as well. And then just make sure you look up the locator forms for anywhere you're going. Even if you're just transiting through like we did with Portugal, we still needed to have locator forms there. Once we landed in Brussels, first thing we did was hop on a train and go directly to Paris. We didn't plan on spending any time in Belgium. We just wanted to get straight to Paris, and the train system is super, super easy. In Paris, they immediately checked our vaccine QR codes before we were able to leave the train station, and then we got on the metro and went to our hotel. Two things I want to point out about that is, number one, we always use public transit when we travel. I never do taxis or anything, and 90% of the time we don't even use public transit and we just walk. We live in Chicago, so we walk everywhere anyways, and so when we're abroad, it is super easy for us to walk, and it just makes it so that you get to explore more places, and it's really, really cheap. I typically don't stay in hotels when traveling. However, my parents got me this one as an engagement present, so thank you to my stepmom and dad for hooking it up, but we typically do Airbnbs, which I'll talk about a little bit more.
Bonjour.
Bonjour from Paris. We made it to Paris. It took freaking forever, but we did it, and we are spending our first night in Paris. We're here for 3 nights, and so we are gonna go out and get some food. We are like right smack downtown, so we're very close to the Eiffel Tower and close to the Arc de Triomphe. So food around here is probably gonna be pretty touristy, but we're gonna go try and find somewhere good. And I'm just so excited to be here with you.
I'm pumped.
Let's go. Next day, jet lag was hitting really hard, but the key to jet lag is just fight it 110%. So we woke up at a normal time, went and had breakfast, had coffee, and then you really have to just force yourself to stay awake all day long. It is so hard, but if you nap, your jet lag is gonna last like 4 times as long. And if you just bite it in the butt, I promise it'll be so much easier.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Ça va, ça va?
Oui, ça va. What je prends, tu mean?
Je prends. I'm having.
Je prends un café au lait.
Je prends
Avec un croissant.
un café et un croissant.
Un croissant. So here is one of the biggest travel things that I want to share with you. When I travel, I do not plan out an itinerary. I got quite a few DMs being like, where did you get your itinerary from? How do you plan out your days? This is what I do. On Google Maps, you have features to be able to save lists. You can also save entire cities. So for this, I did not get a SIM card. I just downloaded the offline map for Paris and had that saved on my phone. I then went through tons of different travel blogs, went to friends for recommendations, YouTube videos, family members who have lived in these places, and asked them for every recommendation they could give me. I then go onto Google Maps and I type in the places and I save where they are, so that way I can still see them when they're downloaded offline. This is great because when you go to your saved list, I can go to my list for Paris and see all of the places I wanted to go. It's also really, really nice because if someone shares their list with you, like I'm going to, I'll put the link down in the description box for any of you who are curious, you can then just immediately add the locations into your own Google account as well, so that way they're saved in your Google Maps too. You can also save notes in there and say if you've been there or not, so that is a really great way to be able to know what the recommendations are from, who told you to go there, what they're like, and I love to put food recommendations for specific restaurants as well. We're going to explore. My little cousin lived in Paris, and so she gave us a bunch of recommendations. So right now we're going to a market that she said, be very careful, it's very dangerous, but it's real Paris, and it's where she got all of her stuff. And then I looked it up and everyone's like, don't go there, it's so dangerous. And I'm like, let's go.
Dangerous.
I guess it didn't say dangerous, it said it's not safe, and there's lots of pickpocketers.
All right, watch your stuff. Let's go.
We just wandered around the area and popped by all of the different places that I had saved on my map. We didn't have any sort of rhyme or reason or any plan. It was just a day of wandering around and being able to explore at our own leisure and still check off these different places that I knew I wanted to see. Also, the hike up to Sacré-Cœur was brutal. Those stairs are gnarly. That evening, we decided to stop into a convenience store and pick up a bottle of wine, and we went and sat along the river and just drank our bottle of wine. You're allowed to drink outside in Europe, which is really great. And so we just sat there and got to have our own bottle, and it was so beautiful.
Was it romantic?
It was so romantic. Good morning. We are on day 2 in Paris. I guess technically day 3, but like day 2, like full day. Today I am very, very excited because one of my followers from like the very beginning lives in Paris. She asked if we wanted to meet up. She's off work this week. And so we are going over to an area of Paris, also one that like my cousin recommended, and there's supposed to be like jazz clubs, all this cool stuff. But we are gonna meet one of my followers today who lives in Paris, and I think that's so cool. So I'm very excited. Off we go. I'm excited.
Good morning.
This day was really, really cool. If you ever have an opportunity to meet up with someone who is local while traveling, I highly recommend it. It was so much fun to see Ona's favorite places and to be able to go to her recommendations, and they were all amazing.
I couldn't stay, take me or leave me. You can still walk away. What if I told you this love won't be easy? Will you still be here? Is this real? Will you still be here? If I say how I feel, I don't wanna wake up one day and see you gone. Will you still be here?
That night, Alex and I went to a more young hip street area, and that is where we went thrift shopping in Paris, and we had so much fun. And then we just went and bopped around and tried a bunch of different bars and got a bunch of different beers, and it was just such a fun night. We ended up getting falafel, and it was delicious. We loved the falafel. Like I mentioned, everywhere scanned our QR codes for getting into restaurants and bars in Paris, so that was really cool, and I felt very safe. Next day, we headed to Charles de Gaulle Airport. We took the metro to get there. It was super easy, and we hopped on a plane and we went to Krakow, Poland. Our flights within Europe were so cheap. This flight, I'm pretty sure it was like $45 for the both of us. It blows my mind. We then hopped on a bus. It cost us like a whopping $1.25 for both of us, and it took us into downtown, and we were staying in the old town part of Krakow, and it was about a 20-minute walk for us to get to our Airbnb. Welcome to my apartment. Welcome to Krakow. This is our apartment. She's cute, she's small, she's quiet, and she's clean. These are the things I looked for.
And you wanted a desk?
This was my big thing, was I wanted somewhere that we could sit and do work for a little bit.
Beautiful. Nice. A little view of the courtyard. And we got a little bathroom.
Hello from our little cutie apartment in Krakow. I now love this place. It's like cozy in here. So Krakow is cheap as hell. This room was $36 a night, I think you said, or 37. And we're going to dinner, and Alex picked this restaurant, which you never do, so that's really fun. We're going to this restaurant that looks really, really good and really, really fancy, but all the dishes are like 10 bucks. So I'm very excited. It'll be fun. Let's go eat some things. They have dumplings, pierogies.
Let's go.
For 3 plates, 2 glasses of champagne, and 2 beers, our total was $55, which just blows my mind. We then went and grabbed a beer in the square, and the restaurants are outside and they have heaters and blankets, and it was just really pretty and romantic. And then just to top off the perfect first night in Poland, we went and got Polish sausages, kielbasas, from a street vendor, and they were amazing. Good morning. So we are on day 2, or like our first full day here in Krakow. This afternoon, fingers crossed, plan is we're gonna be going to Auschwitz. We have tickets booked, but the transportation is just, it seems so much harder than it should be, but we're gonna catch a local bus to get there and go do that. After that, I will absolutely need drinks tonight because it's gonna be heavy and sad, but I feel like it's important. For now, we go do laundry and have breakfast. Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
All the time. We decided to go try a milk bar. A milk bar is like a traditional like canteen style restaurant, and they are really low price and really casual. And the food was amazing. I got a latte, Alex got an Americano, we split a plate of pierogies, and we split a soup as well as a plate of meatballs, and it was a whopping total of $12. In Krakow, there is this giant park that encircles the entirety of Old Town, and so that was a really, really pretty place for us to walk around through, and it was perfect with all of the fall leaves. We then went to the train station, which was in a mall, and we caught a train to try and go to Auschwitz. I say we try to because halfway through the train ride, someone came up to us and yelled at us in Polish and told us to get off because the train wasn't going any further, and that we had to get on a bus. So we did. We got on a bus, and that took us to the train station we were supposed to get off at. After a 20-minute walk, we made it to Auschwitz. This was a very interesting thing to do as a traveler, because when you're booking trips, you typically book trips for things that will make you happy and that you want to do, that are fun, like eating food. Auschwitz was something that we knew was really important and that we wanted to go to and we wanted to learn the history about. It was one of the most impactful things that I've probably ever done in my life. I think people who have the opportunity to travel have the responsibility to educate themselves and learn about the places in the history of where you're going. This day was hard. This day was really hard, and it was really heavy, and I cried and I needed a hug, but it was so important to learn the history about, and it is sickening and horrifying, but something that we wouldn't have been able to go to Poland and overlook. After that, we caught a bus home. This was the wildest thing because this man literally crammed this bus full to the point that people were standing and Alex and I were sitting up in the very front like on the floor. But $7 later, we made it back. We didn't know how we were gonna get back to Old Town. It's about an hour and a half away. It was late and it was dinner time and we were just like, all right, just get us back and we'll figure it out from there. We went to this place and honestly, I'm not even going to try and pronounce any of these for you. All of them are in my Google Maps links down below if you're interested. But this was super cool because this is a very local spot and they do basically beers, small bites, and shots. Shots are so common in Poland and I loved it. I was all about it. They do lots of different types of flavored shots and they have like a house lemon vodka that was delicious and all these sorts of different things. And people just come in and they literally, the Polish people would take like 12 shots and then go out. And I was just like, you are my people. I didn't know. So we went in and had a couple of drinks to raise our spirits after our long and sad day. This night we planned on going to like a proper dinner, but we ended up drinking far too much vodka. And so we kind of bounced around and had a couple of street snacks. First, we got a kebab, which is just like one of my favorite meals ever. And then we went over to the Jewish quarter and got a zapiagnekanaki. I don't know how to say it, but essentially it's like a flatbread baguette style open-faced pizza. It was freaking delicious. And I would really like to eat one of those right now. The lines were crazy long, but it was so worth it and it was huge. Good morning. Today is our last full day here in Poland, in Krakow. Our only goal for today is to eat as many foods as we can and try as many different places and eat all the things and also do laundry because we didn't do it yesterday. But I'm so excited. So we're gonna go drop off our laundry and then we are going to begin a food tour of Krakow.
You're a masterpiece. My clothes look real good on your t-shirt with the rainbow stripe.
A couple of things that we tried was this pierogi place that was really highly recommended. We got a warm mulled beer, which I'd had mulled wine before, but never mulled beer.
Your heels, and a silhouette up on the still, dolly brush stroke with the canvas. Gotta let the paint dry. Bourbon make us feel fine. Body heat make the skin cry. Baby, babe, it's a good night. When we wake up still on the bedside. Da 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 da. Pillow talks a symphony.
We got a full plate of creamed herring, which was delicious, but a whole lot of herring. I had borscht for the first time and that was amazing. And then we went to another fancy restaurant, which was supposed to be pretty similar to the first one. And this was also an absolutely amazing meal. And it came out to like $40 for the two of us. To end our last night in Krakow, we went to a speakeasy. One of my followers had messaged me because she studied abroad in Krakow and she was like, if you do any of my recommendations, it has to be this one. And we almost didn't do it because we were tired, but I'm so glad we did. It was called Mercy Brown and it was one of the coolest experiences. I'm not a huge speakeasy kind of girl, but this place blew me away and the bartender was so amazing and so nice and it was so cool to watch them make all their fancy craft cocktails. Next day, it was time for us to leave Krakow. It was a rainy, drizzly day, so it was a perfect day for us to hop on the train and ride the train all day. We thought about doing a night train, but the price difference was literally 4 times the price. So we ended up doing a daytime train, which was about 8 hours, but honestly, it was one of my favorite parts of the trip. And just for reference, our 8-hour train cost $40 total for us to get from Krakow, Poland to Budapest, and I slept. Once we got to Budapest, we checked into our Airbnb, and it was this super cool lofted unit. I loved this Airbnb. It was such a good one. We then went to dinner at the most highly recommended restaurant that anyone had told us about in Budapest, and that was Mazel Tov. It was beautiful, and it's an Israeli style restaurant, and all of the food was amazing. It was our favorite meal we'd had in Budapest. The next day we got up and we wandered around. We went to go get coffee and we found this really cool coffee shop where lots of people were working from, and it was such a vibe. And then we went to this place called Caravan. This was really recommended to me as well as far as street food goes. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, we were slightly underwhelmed with it. All of the food was like fine, but none of it was great. But it's a really cool vibe there, and they have a bar. And so if you're going out in Budapest, which if you're in Budapest, I'm sure you are, that's a really great place to get a drink to start off your night. We then went and stopped by the largest Jewish synagogue in all of Europe. 90% of the synagogue was closed to the public, so it was a little bit underwhelming, but it was really beautiful and it was really neat to learn the history about. We then spent the rest of the evening kind of just bopping around and going into different bars and restaurants and grabbing a bite to eat here and a snack and a beer there. And then we went to our first ruin bar. If you've heard anything about Budapest, you've probably heard about ruin bars. These are basically bars in big old buildings that should have been knocked down, but people bought them and did the minimal things they needed to clean it up, and then just made it into an artsy, crazy madhouse. They're huge and they're insane and they're filled with tons of different rooms, and it's just wild. I cannot even put it into words. It was super fun just to wander around the ruin bar and see all of the different artwork and how the different rooms have been set up. It was one of the craziest things. We ended up sitting in a bathtub and smoking hookah. And then we both decided to call it a night and we wanted another kebab. Alex and I are suckers for kebabs. Good morning. Today is our last full day here in Budapest. Tomorrow our flight leaves at 8 p.m. so really we do have like a decently full day, but this is our last big one. So today we're gonna go to the thermal bath. Budapest's been interesting. I think it was up against really tough competition because we loved Krakow. Like, absolutely fell in love with that city. And it's taken a little bit more for me to like warm up to Budapest, but it is still beautiful. We're having a good time. We're gonna go get some lunch. And tonight we're gonna like go out. College kids. Then I'm gonna do shots of vodka. I guess I've been doing shots of vodka this entire trip, but like we're gonna try and get drunk and go to the ruin bars. So that should be fun. Different experience there. But Budapest so far, I'll give it a thumbs up. I didn't get any footage of us in the baths. We locked our phones and our camera in our locker, and so I really have nothing to show you. But to be completely transparent, I found the baths quite underwhelming. For the price point, it was fine, but really it just feels like you're taking like a bath with a bunch of people. Like the water's not like hot tub hot, and it wasn't this like relaxing spa experience that I think I thought it was going to be. If you're going to Budapest, I still recommend going to the baths, but I think I just had high expectations. After that, we walked back and we went past the Parliament building. This was stunning and it was so pretty to see it at night. Our last day in Budapest, we still had a few more places that I knew I wanted to eat, and we were a little bit hungover. We had to check out of our Airbnb at 11 a.m. So we strapped on our backpack. This is another huge tip for you. Anytime we travel anywhere, we only bring one carry-on backpack and then one backpack that has like our tech and like normal stuff in it that we can use day to day. But one backpack holds all of our clothes and all of our toiletries for the two of us, and it makes life so much easier. So we just strapped on our backpack and we walked around town. We went and grabbed soup, and that was one of my favorite things that we had in all of Budapest. It was so good. And walked through the city and saw the sights one more time before we had the longest trek back home ever. After we left Budapest, we didn't film any of it, but we did go from Budapest with a flight back to Brussels. We landed and stayed in a budget airport hotel that night because we literally only slept in there for like 6 or 7 hours. Looking back, I kind of wish that I'd forced us to just sleep on the floor at the airport, but c'est la vie. After that, we then caught a taxi to a train station, 2 different trains to get to the correct airport that we needed to be at the morning before we flew Brussels to Lisbon, Lisbon back to Chicago. When we flew back, we did need to have a negative COVID test to be able to get onto the plane. And we had gotten these kits that you can buy online. I'll put that link down below as well. and you can do them at home. You do have to do like a Zoom call with a registered doctor. It's all set up like through the kit. It's really, really easy, but it takes about 15 minutes and then you have your results and they email it to you as well. And so we were able to use that for our tests to fly home. Overall, traveling in 2021 definitely was a little bit different. All of the paperwork we needed, all of the documentation for our vaccines, for our locator forms, for the COVID tests, everything. It was a lot more to put into it to have a trip. However, this was the first time while traveling where I was like, okay, this feels like life could somewhat continue along this path. Like I see the light at the end of the tunnel. It was so nice to be able to be out in the world and experience different cultures and just do all of the things that make my little heart flutter. Our overall trip, including flights and everything, I believe, I need to crunch like the final numbers, but I think it was just under $1,000 per person. Our flights were $250. We put roughly $1,000 on the credit card, and then I think we pulled out like $400 in cash. And that was everything we'd spend for every single food, drink, accommodation. The only thing that's not included in that was our accommodation in Paris because my parents gave that one to me. But everything else was covered in that cost. All of our public transit, all of our trains in between. I think people get really caught up in the idea of when they travel, they have to go to every museum and you have to see every site and you have to pay to go to the top of every monument and everything. And really at the end of the day, traveling for me is being able to go and experience the culture. And so we had both been to Paris before. We didn't care to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower. We didn't care to go to any museums. We wanted to go sit on the river and drink a bottle of wine. We wanted to be able to wander around neighborhoods and pop into a coffee shop and grab a coffee. Like those are the things that were more important to me. And I always have the mentality of I can always go back. So if I don't check off every single bucket list item on this trip, Paris will still be there and I'll still be able to go and visit it in the future. I don't need to spend all of my life savings on this one trip thinking it is the only opportunity I will ever have to be able to go there. By bringing just one carry-on bag for the two of us, it means that we don't have to pay any checked bag fees for these super budget airlines that we use to try to travel within Europe. They charge you for every carry-on bag you bring, and so it saves money there as well. For our train ride from Poland to Budapest, we packed a baguette and some lunch meat and cheese and grapes, and we just had like a picnic on the train. Don't think that if you go, every single meal needs to be a 5-star meal. Don't think that every place you stay needs to be the nicest place ever. Even if you go and you have an extremely budget-friendly trip, I promise you, just to be able to go and have the experience is going to be worth it. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but it's something that I'm super passionate about, and it is something that brings me so much happiness that I love to do so much. So I wanted to create this video to kind of talk through not only what our trip was and how it went, but also how I managed to travel. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it. We had the best time. Our trip was amazing and I loved every single moment of it. I cannot wait for our next trip, and who knows where or when that will be, but I can't wait for it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. This is so different from any normal type of video I make, so please, your support with a thumbs up on this would mean a lot to me. Just that way I know, is this a video that you guys enjoyed at all, or did you just hate it? If you haven't already, hit the big red subscribe button. I post 3 videos a week and I would love for you to follow along. And of course, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to comment down below. I will try and add in as much as I possibly can into the description box, but let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.